You are listening to the Maple Footy Podcast. This is the unofficial football podcast of the North. I'm your host, Sam Little. Find me at official Sam Little on Instagram. There's nothing left to say except for sit back, enjoy, and welcome to the show.
Hello, yes, welcome back to another episode of the Maple Footy Podcast. We are known as the unofficial football podcast of the North and the mapliest and footiest podcasts out there. But yeah, match week 13, Premier League. Pretty big match week, huh? Not like there was like a big title race kind of match going on, right? Like the Man City didn't play Liverpool or nothing like that. Let's not be silly. No, of course, all jokes aside, there is definitely a lot to talk about. But first, in Maple Footy tradition, we will start off with the Maple Footy start, and definitely nothing more newsworthy than some positive news, I would say, and that is Alphonso Davies and Alistair Johnston have both been nominated for the FIFA Best 11 Team of the Year. Both, of course, as the defender position. Hopefully, maybe both of them can get their way in, so definitely go vote for that. Of course, Alphonso Davies, I don't want to take anything away from him because just because he's nominated for this, it seems like every single year, it doesn't make it any less impressive. So a big congrats to Alphonso Davies. But the real shocker and give him his flowers moment has to be Alistair Johnston here. I don't think anybody expected him to get that shout, but he did, and it's well-deserved 100%. So very happy that Alistair Johnston kind of got his flowers, and hopefully maybe we see him in the 11 come that time. The next big news, goals galore for our Canadian boys this weekend. Guys like Kyle Larin, Junior Hoylett, Kwesi Poku all got onto the score sheet for their respective clubs. Larin, Hoylett, and Poku all helped winning their respective games. Seager as well got a big goal, his third of the season. The Croatian turned Canadian definitely is enjoying a very good spell at the moment, and long may it continue because he's ours, baby. And Jonathan David is nearing 100 Lille goals, 2 penalties on the weekend, brought him to 98, then 99 for Lille. So his next goal will see him get that 100th. Also, a pretty interesting stat is that his best ever goal tally for Lille is 26 in one season, but he's already on 14, not even halfway through this season. So obviously, if we all know how fickle the sport can be, but if this form kind of continues, we could see him exceed that 26 by a fine margin. Once again, of course, just, we know football. We know that doesn't really matter because any moment that can change. But at the moment, he's definitely tracking to have a very good year. Bombito's Nice did sadly lose, which kind of killed my topic I was going to talk about here, is that there was a stat saying that of the 3 games that Bombito had not started this season, Nice had lost all 3 of those. So it is a little bit of a shame that now he did lose on the weekend, because it kind of killed me going, oh yeah, it shows how important Bombito is because they've lost all 3 they hasn't started. But he did start this one, and then they did lose. But regardless, still shows how crucial he is, given the fact that before this weekend, 3 games he didn't play and they lost. So it does show how crucial he has been. Some Marc-Anthony Kaye news dropped earlier today. He will be leaving the Revs and going to the San Jose Earthquakes. So, I've been a big fan of Marc-Anthony Kaye for a long little while. It seems like his time with the national team has sadly come to kind of an end, but definitely still a great player for us and has been a great servant to the program, and just wish him nothing but the absolute best going to the Earthquakes. I thought he did very well with the Revs, but obviously we know the MLS have to allocate for price and whatnot, and guys times come to an end at certain clubs. But yeah, he's had a very good career. He's carved out a very good career for himself, so nothing but the best for our boy Marc-Anthony Kaye. And lastly, I know he's not technically Canadian, but he has given a lot to the Canadian program, whether it's good or bad. John Herdman has officially resigned from TFC. Make of it as you will. I know there's a lot of speculation around. Maybe he didn't fully resign, and it was maybe a kind of case of we'll kind of let you quit to kind of keep your dignity, but like regardless, you're not returning. I could be wrong. That could just be speculation. I don't know. But it's hard to kind of see with everything that was going on, given some certain drone scandals and a lot of other things that came out per the drones. It's hard to kind of sit here and go, it's just on the pitch results as to why he got let go. Well, sorry, ended up resigning. We could sit here for an entire episode and probably talk about the weird little intricacies of this entire Herdman, Bev Priestman, drone saga and everything that's come out about it, because honestly, to me, the drones are now looking like some of the lesser things that have been brought forward potentially. Whether everything is true or not, we'll probably never know, but I know that there's a lot of investigations going on and all that fun stuff. Regardless, this does seem like it is an end to John Herdman's stint in Canadian football as a whole. Of course, started with the women, moved over to the men, did a lot for both. Once again, whether it was good or bad, debate for another time. And now, of course, went to TFC, a season there, and it does seem like we won't see him back in Canadian football. So regardless of what we want to say, he definitely did give us a lot to talk about, that's for sure. But yeah, with all that Herdman talk out the way and the rest of the Maple start all done, let's get into the Prem recap. So you kind of know the segments of this if this isn't your first rodeo with the Maple Footy podcast. If it is, then I will let you know what the order is. So we're going to go match of the weekend, then biggest winners of the weekend, biggest underperformers, best performance, moment of the weekend, relegation zone, European places, and then title race. So some things to talk about here, a lot of things to talk about. Match of the weekend, I was kind of banking on Liverpool and City being a bit of a banger, but it kind of failed to live up to that big match feel, I think, and I think a lot of people would kind of maybe agree with that sentiment. So we'll definitely revisit that one, but definitely a big match. Big talking points was Brentford and Leicester. 4-1 for Brentford puts them in 8th place and very, very close to the top 4, just 3 points off of it. And Kevin Schade, what a performance, by the way. Hat trick as well as an assist. Very big weekend for him. I think maybe his coming out party, because just he hadn't been on my radar really much at all this season. Those were his first goal involvements, so he never really caught my eyes. But what a weekend! He really took this game by storm, and Leicester goes up early, which I think is the exact kind of response that they would have wanted come the sacking of Cooper, as well as just a really underwhelming performance and just start to the season as a whole from last weekend. And then obviously, if we're talking about the whole season, it's been underwhelming by a long shot. But they started this match really well. They go up 1-0 within the first 21 minutes. And, looking pretty good under Van Nistelrooy, right? Like, that's the kind of start that you want. Nope. 4 minutes later, Wissa scores thanks to a great ball by Kevin Schade. And then 4 minutes later, again, Schade then puts in his first of the day. Then right before half, a lengthy injury time, Kevin Schade gets a brace going into half. I'd say that's rather good, right? You're definitely in the driver's seat, making it 3-1 at halftime, and it's not looking good for Leicester. And then, of course, Schade completes a hat-trick, 59th minute. Game's over at that point. Just Brentford kind of plays it out. Brentford is continuing their extremely underrated start to the season. They're playing greatly at the moment. And, I mean, league position and points tally kind of shows that. Style of play is really showing that too. I think they've been quite the exciting team to watch as well. And yeah, just a big moment, big day, I think, for Kevin Schade. Potentially, maybe a coming out party per se for the German winger. So we'll see what happens with him and Brentford as the season goes on. But yeah, I'd love to see him really kick on from here. As for Leicester, I mean, I'm sure I'll talk about them come the relegation time, but yeah, man, it ain't looking pretty at the moment. So yeah. I'll kind of save it for the relegation talk. Another big match I would say was Bournemouth and Wolves. Why? Because goals galore in this one as well. 4-2 Bournemouth, as Wolves kind of have started to really turn the corner. Bournemouth, really that underrated team with a great manager in Areola. It puts a little wrench in the Wolves' upwards momentum that they've been on. I don't think it's like, oh, that's it, it's stopped, we're gonna see the Wolves of the first few games, but I think it definitely does kind of put a halt to it just a little bit. I do still think Wolves, as I kind of mentioned last episode, have a very favorable schedule coming up. Everton next, then West Ham, Ipswich, Leicester, all before Christmas, and then Boxing Day is when it kind of gets real again with a run of United, Spurs, Forest. So I think the next 4 games, I could genuinely feasibly see 4 wins for Wolves. Like, I really could. I do think that they have turned that corner. I think that this was a bump in that road, but I do think that they will kind of continue to be on the up. But kind of more about Bournemouth, though. A great piece of history. Justin Kluivert gets the first ever hat trick of penalties in the Premier League ever. So good for him. That's kind of crazy. Because, scoring a penalty is hard. I know a lot of people say it's a quote-unquote free goal, but we've seen people miss crucial penalties all the time. And for you to kind of step up and have the nerve to hit 3 in one match, I can't imagine what's going through your head, because we've seen guys score 2 in one match, and you kind of go, oh man, what's going through his head in the second penalty? Does he go the same way? Does he change it up? What's going through the goalkeeper's head? Does he go the same way? Does he change it up? And then add on another one, you've already been through that with the second, now you have a third, and now it's like, okay, well, whatever happens, I guess, for that one, so I mean, it's kind of, I'm not sure the overall quality of this match was super amazing or anything. Like, it was a pretty standard match. I just found it kind of crazy how 3 penalties in one game, and I found that very crazy, and I wanted to talk about it. Another big match I would say was Arsenal-West Ham. I mean, kind of kills me to give Arsenal some flowers, but I can't ignore them sometimes as much as I would like to. Speaking of penalties, 2 penalties in this game. Odegaard and Saka put in 2, and then, of course, Saka grabs a couple of assists as well. Kind of scores a goal. And then, off the set piece again, Gabriel. So, Arsenal are flying when it comes to set pieces. I don't think even the biggest Arsenal hater can really deny the fact that they are absolutely flying with these set pieces. But yeah, I mean, the game was kind of done and dusted come the 36th minute when Havertz puts in his first goal, his only goal of the day. And then in the 2 minutes later, and then 2 minutes after that 2 minutes, within 4 minutes, West Ham kind of tease a comeback going into halftime, and then quickly it's kind of all undone as Saka gets his of the day and puts it at 5-2 going into halftime. So if there was any hope before that halftime whistle blew and then the penalty was given, yeah, it was kind of all done and dusted there. So it was definitely a very big first half game. Maybe not a great full game, but definitely a first half kind of game. And yeah, so really none of the matches this weekend really moved me all that much. That's why I'm kind of just talking about like, oh man, like this happened in that game, and that's pretty big. None of the matches to me were extremely great, and I feel comfortable in saying that. But, go and watch some highlights if you want of some of the matches that I discussed. None of them are really worth like going back to watch a whole 90, if I'm being honest. That's just my opinion. But yeah, And not every weekend's going to be a banger. I mean, last weekend was, I thought, a phenomenal weekend of Prem footy. So this weekend was, whilst high scoring, I don't think the quality of matches were brilliant. But with all this being said, let's move into biggest winners of the weekend. And who wants to place a bet on who the first team I'm going to say is? I'm kidding. Don't bet in. If you're going to bet responsibly. Yeah, it's Liverpool. It is Liverpool. They go now, was it 11 points clear of City? Let me double check this. Yeah, 11 points clear of Manchester City. As I said last week, I'm not going to harp on it too much. Season's not over yet. I think Liverpool players and fans will be well aware of that, whilst definitely enjoy the moment, of course. They know it's not the end. Like, they know that if any team is capable of pulling off a great comeback such as this would be, it is Manchester City. I know Arsenal is in second place, but they still feel more like a top 4 contender than a title contender at the moment, as they're closer to a lot of those European contenders than Liverpool. So, you know, as I said last episode, Liverpool has yet to really, really impress me. They did in the first half of this game. I thought the first half, they were all over City. Perhaps a little bit unlucky or not clinical enough to kind of be going into halftime a little bit higher up in the score. I think Van Dijk probably could have had at least one, I would say 2 goals going to the break. So right there, you put it at 2-3-0, and then, you know, just misses throughout the day. I thought Salah didn't have his best game, but it just kind of shows the inevitability of Salah when he gets a goal and an assist in a game where you go, yeah, he wasn't that great. But yeah, it just once again shows that if anyone's going to just pop up, it is Mo Salah. And he's done it time and time again, you know. So I thought it was a very good first half from Liverpool. The second half, they were kind of letting Manchester City back into the game, but City just, they never did anything with it. Like, when I thought Jeremy Doku was a really positive substitution. He was making things happen, taking on his man, getting around the Liverpool defense pretty easily. And it would never amount to anything because there was no one in the middle. Liverpool marked Haaland out of the game completely. And I think that's scary for City because Haaland was marked out of the game and they had nobody else. Like, you're looking into the box and it's like, okay, Haaland's got Van Dijk and Joe Gomez or Kwanzaa or Trent or Robertson, whoever, on him. And then you kind of go, okay, well, who else does Doku have? Or not even just Doku, anybody in that position. It seemed like it was Doku more often than not. But, you know, whoever had the ball ready to whip it in. And you're kind of looking and go, well, Haaland's not going to be able to win it against 4 friggin' guys. So who do I give this to? I can't give it to anyone. Okay, I guess I'm dribbling through the traffic and hoping for the best. And it just didn't work. And, you know, you expect a little bit more. I will say I thought it was very amusing that Pep was lifting up the six fingers to the Liverpool fans because, yes, bragging about trophies against the most decorated team in England is, I guess that's the way to go, you know. A desperate man, desperate times, desperate measures, I guess. I just thought it was a little bit funny, the irony of it. I have 6, and Liverpool fans are in their head probably like, I mean, we're the most decorated in England. So I just kind of found there to be some humor in that. But I mean, I did think the gesture was funny on Pep's part as well, just because, yeah, you know, fair enough. And then just the irony of it all. But that's just me going off on a little tangent. But yeah, no, I mean, Liverpool showed to me in the first half that they are capable champions. I mean, we did know that, but we definitely saw it actually kind of play out in front of us. They grind out the result again. I mean, no ifs, ands, or buts about the penalty. That's a stonewall penalty. I haven't seen anybody say it shouldn't have been, but, you know, just in case. But yeah, definitely a penalty for Salah to convert to. And then that was game after that penalty went in. I mean, it was game over. City didn't tease anything at all, and that was it. That's all I have to say about that. Moving into another big winner of the weekend. I think we have to say Manchester United, right? Like, once again, not trying to be one of those people that gets carried away when a new manager comes in for United and go, oh my gosh, it's Fergie reborn, you know? So not being carried away in that sense, but I mean, if you want to kind of start off an era pretty well, I know they drew last weekend, but then at home to Everton at Old Trafford, what better way than to pummel Everton 4-0 and, a brace of braces, Xerxes and Rashford both getting 2 in the game, and I believe Bruno Fernandes and Diallo also both get a brace of assists, so I guess a brace of braces of braces. I'm kidding. That was stupid. But regardless, what better way to kind of start off your tenure at Old Trafford than, once again, pumping 4, and they look dominant. They did. You can tell that that we're kind of starting to see tweaks to the system where, time will tell if that can last. I know probably most likely they're going to be trying to bring in new players, and I think that's kind of a necessity if you're going to try and play a totally new system. But at the moment, these guys are, at least at the moment, as per really one impressive game, these guys look pretty decent. We'll see how this kind of continues and kind of what comes of it. But yeah, credit where it's due. They earned their flowers this weekend. And yeah, and then another big winner, I think, just because performance-wise, it was men against boys. I know the Chelsea fans going to give Chelsea their flowers. Yeah, I will. Guess what? I will. This is my show. No, I'm kidding. But yeah, no, I thought Chelsea, it was men against boys for Villa. I think that I'll talk about Villa more. Spoiler alert, in the underperformers of the weekend. I'll talk about Villa a little bit more. But from a Chelsea aspect, the game was done and dusted 7 minutes in. Like, it just was. And, I'm not one of those guys that goes, early goal and we're cruising, because I've seen Chelsea and multiple teams give away, get an early goal and then give away the lead minutes, later. But just with the form that Villa's been in and just how they were playing, it was just like, yeah, it's over. Villa's only hope was Robert Sanchez behind in the sticks for Chelsea. And even then, he made a couple of decent stops on Ollie Watkins. I think Ollie Watkins will have hoped he had done a lot better. But yeah, no, it was done and dusted 7 minutes. And Enzo Fernandez, icing on the cake, 36 minutes in. And then I guess the cherry on top is the Cole Palmer banger in the 83rd. Cole Palmer, by the way, oh my gosh, I absolutely love him to bits. Like, it wasn't even his best game, and just what a player. What a player. But yeah, no, all around, I just thought Chelsea looked really good. Maresca's got him looking very, very, very good at the moment. Once again, time will tell how long this can kind of last and go on for. And, once we kind of face maybe some bad form, we'll kind of see what Enzo Maresca is made of and how he can kind of rejuvenate the boys. But at the moment, Chelsea looking like a proper top 4 contender. And from here, I'd be very disappointed to see Chelsea not get into the top 4 at this point in the season. So we'll kind of move on from all the positives and let's get negative, baby. What is the internet love? And that's negativity. So what are some of the biggest underperformers? Since I'm kind of already talking about Chelsea and Villa, let's kind of move into the other side of this coin and let's talk about Aston Villa, because yeah, they were bad. Like, really bad. Like, 3-0 flattered them, I thought. Like, that's how bad they were. As mentioned, I thought Ollie Watkins probably should have had minimum 1 goal, but that's probably being generous. He looks like a striker without any confidence at all, especially when Duran is kind of coming in. I know he didn't score on the day here, but he's been coming off the bench and has really been scoring a lot for Villa this season. So you kind of go, maybe Unai Emery needs to change it up. I also want to say Unai Emery by no means should lose his job. He has done wonders for this Villa side, because when under Dean Smith and Steven Gerrard, Villa was battling relegation. Unai Emery has them in Champions League nights. So yeah, no shot in any sane universe, should Unai Emery be losing his job, but we have seen managers get sacked for less, so, time will tell on if he does or not, but he's a class manager, and I would hope that Villa kind of sees that, and I would hope that these players have not turned on him and he's lost the dressing room, because I really think that this is a case of who do you get that is any better than Unai Emery for Aston Villa, because Unai Emery, if he gets sacked, he will have a lineup of clubs trying to get him. And let me tell you, there is not someone out there at this moment better for Aston Villa than Unai Emery. So definitely do not sack him. Aston Villa higher-ups, if you're listening to this. I'm an unbiased, not an Aston Villa fan. So, take my word for it. But yeah, all seriousness, we've seen managers get sacked for a lot less, and I think it would just be such a shame if Unai Emery loses his job, because he has been class for Villa. So, like I said, time will tell, but Aston Villa, that's 8 winless now in all competitions. That's really bad. That's really bad. So we'll kind of have to wait and see what the future holds for Villa. I think they're going to really need to turn a corner, and really turn that corner quite quickly. Next up, they have Brentford, who's in very fine form. And then after that, they have Southampton, then RB Leipzig in the Champions League, Nottingham Forest, City, Newcastle, Brighton. They don't really get a break until Leicester after Southampton, because you think Southampton's probably 3 points for Villa. Oh, my goodness. Yeah, they're really going to need to turn this corner. They're going to need to turn it quick with the schedule that they have coming up. And the games come so thick and so fast at this time of the season. Oof, yeah. We'll kind of leave it at that, because they need to turn the corner. And for the sake of, I think, their season, they got to do it now. It has to be done now. Anyways, moving into another underperformer. I mean... Not to basically say the same games that I said for the best performers, but yeah, Manchester City, I'll keep it brief because I did talk about them a lot last week. But yeah, it's not going right for them at the moment. I kind of already discussed it. It's not going right. If any team's capable of turning this around, it is Manchester City. We'll have to wait and see, honestly, just because... It's just not looking good. These guys, they look uninterested. They look old. Even their young guys look old. They look done. So maybe it's just a kind of thing of they need a break. They need new signings. They need, I don't know. But yeah, I'll kind of leave it at that for Manchester City, just because I've talked them to death the last few weeks. And then another big underperformer, I mean, it has to be Leicester. It just has to be. I think... honestly, this is probably going to be really harsh. I think it was a disgraceful performance from them. I really do. A new manager, you expect maybe a new manager bounce in the first couple games. And I know that new manager bounce can still come. This might be just the kind of bad first game. Who knows? But I thought it was disgraceful. I really did. After they essentially got their manager sacked 12 games into his tenure, then you come out and do this. I think it's a slap in the face to the fans. It's a slap in the face to the guys that have worn that badge before. I just thought it was a terrible performance. I think Leicester will be lucky to stay up with not just their quality of play, but with the attitude that they seem to have. And it is a shame, because, you work so hard to get back into the Prem, and the fans will hope that you kind of can kick on from the championship, and it looks like they're not kicking on from the championship. It looks like they're getting kicked right back down, because they're not looking good. And like I said, they just seem uninterested, they don't care. Here to collect a paycheck and hope at the end of the season that if Leicester gets relegated, they'll be signed elsewhere. And that's just a terrible way to approach it, but that's what it looks like right now. So we'll kind of move on from the negatives, and we'll look at some more positives with the best performance of the weekend. So, performance of the weekend, let's get the obvious one out of the way. Schade, Brentford, hat-trick, assist, very, very good. Like I said, I think it might have been his coming out party. We'll have to wait and see what the season holds. But yeah, this really feels like it was his coming out party, because to do that when your back is kind of against the wall, yeah, it kind of shows you kind of got that dog in you. You know what I mean? So we'll see what the season holds for him. I hope he really kicks on, because just quite the iconic performance for the Brentford man. So we'll see what happens. He's a young German winger. He's played for the likes of, who'd he come from? I believe it was Freiburg, actually. Let me double check this. Freiburg. Yeah, it was Freiburg. He came from Freiburg over in January of 2023. So definitely coming out party, I think, for him. He's got 6 goals for Brentford in his career. So, we'll have to wait and see. He's been capped by Germany once to this point, at least. So, yeah, really hope he kicks on. It's nice to see a young guy kind of get to announce himself quite like that, quite emphatically, quite excitingly as well. Another top performance. I mean, once again, I think I have to mention Kluivert, hat trick of penalties. I'll talk about him in the moment of the weekend. But yeah, quickly, Justin Kluivert. Did I say Patrick? I might have said Patrick. Justin Kluivert. Yeah, just quite the performance from him, just mentally, if anything. And then I'm not done giving Chelsea some flowers, because I thought Moises Caicedo was brilliant. Again, I mean, what a player, man. Like, honestly, if the season ended today, he'd be in my team of the season and potentially my pick for player of the season. I think he's been unreal. Obviously he doesn't get the goals and assists, but if you watch him, the game just flows through this guy. He's so good. The way he wins the ball back, his progressive passes. He's not a 100 million pound player that turns around and back passes all game long. Yes, that is a shot at certain other 100 million pound players. He progresses the ball so well, and I mean, I know he doesn't register a ton of assists, but if we register like pre-assists, he'd be well up there. He's always so influential when he's on, when he's off the ball. He's just so good. I've loved watching him this season. I thought the likes of Pedro Neto was also very good. Just a little shout out to him. I think he's had a very good season. Goes under the radar because I don't think his stats have been there, just based on the fact that Chelsea hasn't finished some amazing crosses that he's put in. Kind of like Mudryk last year, whereas Mudryk probably could have been like double-digit assists, and he just wasn't because people weren't finishing their dinner. It kind of feels like the case for Pedro Neto, because he puts in some great crosses, and they just don't find it. But moving into Liverpool, I thought Cody Gakpo was unreal. I thought he was great all over the pitch in a positive way. And won the ball back a good few times, was very influential of the pitch, gets a very important goal to make it 1-0 for Liverpool. And yeah, just his link of play I thought was very positive. Luis Diaz kind of was the sacrificial lamb for Liverpool, because it was either Gakpo or Diaz playing on the left wing. They went with Gakpo, and I do think that's Gakpo's best position, and I think that you see the best of him and of Liverpool when he's in that left wing position. No disrespect to Luis Diaz, I just think Gakpo suits the system and the team better than, say, a Luis Diaz does in that position. And I think you saw it this weekend. I thought he caused a lot of problems for the likes of Kyle Walker, Nathan Ake, Akanji, and Diaz. That entire back line, I thought he dribbled Gundogan with ease. Rico Lewis as well. Just a very good performance from Cody Gakpo, topped off by a very, very important goal. My moment of the weekend, of course, is that penalty hat trick. I know that my moment of the weekend has kind of been like, those chill-inducing moments, but for this, I mean, when such a piece of history is kind of made on the weekend, I think I kind of have to put it here. Justin Kluivert, like I said, the mental fortitude to go up there and take 3 penalties in one game. I don't think I've ever, that's a lie, Mbappe did it in a World Cup final. Outside of that, I don't think I've ever seen someone step up and take 3 penalties and score all 3 in one game. And, maybe come the third one, there's other guys on the pitch kind of going, maybe I'd like to take this, whatever. But I guess when you're feeling it, you're feeling it. And Kluivert was feeling it, a hat trick of penalties. I can't get over that. That's amazing. Kind of moving into the relegation zone. Usual suspects, as some would say. Because, yeah, I mean, not much change in the relegation zone this weekend. Just Palace kind of climbing out, but just by goal difference. Southampton still rooted to the bottom of the table, and it just doesn't look like it's going to get any better for them. They face Chelsea this week, midweek, then Villa, Tottenham coming up, Fulham. It's not looking good, and even looking at cup action, they've got Liverpool in the Carabao Cup. Like, it is a shame because I don't hate Southampton, right? It just sucks because, there was really no great recruitment done for them during the transfer window to kind of help them improve. I mean, yeah, they got Ramsdale, but he's out hurt at the moment as well. So, you're looking at Kyle Walker-Peters, who I actually do rate quite highly. But outside of him, who else do you have? Adam Lallana has come there for, a nice little victory lap. And I love seeing players go back at the end of their career to the club that kind of helped them get their start. So no disrespect to Adam Lallana. I think he's a player that well deserves his flowers. Then you got, Ugo Chukwu, who's on loan from Chelsea anyways. I mean, Tyler Dibling looks pretty good. He's 18, so, anything can happen from here for him. And, Cameron Archer as your striker. I actually do like Cameron Archer, but, it's not really a team, whereas outside of those guys that you just named, it's not really a team where you're going, oh, yeah, they're staying up. They've got the right guys. It is a shame because I do feel for the fans, but I mean, 3 teams do have to go down. It just seems like Southampton went down a lot earlier than most other teams, unless there's a miracle great escape on the horizon, which I can't really envision for Southampton. But hey, stranger things have happened. Just above them is Ipswich, but from here it's Ipswich, Wolves, Palace, Leicester, Everton. 2 points or less separates the 4 of them. Oh, sorry, that's 5. Good job. Good mental math there, Samuel. Yeah. So we'll start off with Ipswich because they're the closest to the bottom. They're set in 19th right now. They have a decent schedule. They have relegation kind of battle tomorrow, as of recording this at least. Tomorrow against Palace. So by the time you listen to it, it'll actually be the day of. But yeah, no, sorry. Off track again with the technicalities. But so they got Palace in a big relegation battle. Then they're going to have Bournemouth, Wolves, Newcastle, Arsenal, Chelsea, all before the year's done. And then they open up the year against Fulham, Brighton, City, Liverpool. It's not looking like a good 2 months for Ipswich, and this could really be the make or break time in their season, which is a shame because I would like to see Ipswich really stay up. They might have some shock results in them. They've shown that they are definitely capable of it this season so far with, a draw against United, win against Tottenham, Leicester, they won, and then they've kept it close too against teams like Brentford. Southampton they drew as well. Villa they drew. Regardless, I'm just saying that they're capable of it, of some at least little shocks. But yeah, just from now until the end of January, it does not look like a favorable run for Ipswich. We'll have to wait and see. So I think that the game against Palace is kind of must win because it's in terms of opposition wise, it's who they're closest with, 1 in the table and probably 2 in quality. So they're really going to need to get that 3 points from Palace. And I think Palace will probably be thinking the same. Moving above Ipswich is Wolves. I ain't going to beat a dead horse. I still think that Wolves will be safe. I just do. This is a bump in the road for Wolves' season. And I think it's going to be turned around. I already listed out their opposition coming up, but I really do see them having a very good run coming up. That's just my opinion. We'll have to wait and see, but, that's my opinion with Wolves. That's the sword I'm dying on with Wolves. I do think that they turn this around at the end of the season. Hey, maybe I have pie on my face. Who knows? But I really do think that they're going to turn around. Just above them, outside of the relegation zone by goal difference, Palace is actually tied on points with both Wolves and Ipswich, but have the better goal difference, it is obviously Crystal Palace. They, not the worst result, getting a 1-1 against Newcastle. Like I said, they do have Ipswich next. For both teams, I think that's a big must-win game, especially coming into this busy time of year. Crystal Palace don't have it much easier than Ipswich coming up. After Ipswich, they have City, Brighton, Arsenal, Bournemouth. Southampton is a relatively easier one. And then you go straight back into it with Chelsea. Leicester then, once again, a little bit easier. And then, come the end of January, they got Brentford and United. So I would say a bit easier of a schedule than Ipswich, but still definitely not an extremely favorable one. I think they have some more favorable matches in there. But, they're not looking great this season, and I thought by now, kind of like Wolves, they will start turning it around, but it doesn't really feel like they have just yet, and I say that fully kind of contradicting myself with the fact that Wolves have the same amount of points as Palace, but with Wolves, I don't know, it just feels different. Like, I can't explain, it just feels different with Wolves. It feels like they've been here, they've done that, they always get safe somehow, and they always start out slow, and they eventually turn around, and it feels like they are, whereas with Palace, it just feels like so different, just so many losses, draws where they probably should have been wins instead, and it just doesn't feel the same with Palace because they haven't even won a game yet. All 9 points that they've gotten have come from draws. Like, they haven't won yet. We're in December and they're yet to win a game. And now with the schedule that they've got coming up, yes, there are some favorable matches, but a lot of the time their backs are going to be against the wall. So I think it's very trying times for Crystal Palace coming up, and we'll kind of see where they end up come the end of January, because come this Christmas to New Year's spell in the season, you kind of see how the table is shaped up, and we will kind of see where Palace, Wolves, Ipswich kind of all are. Then just above Palace is Leicester, and I really don't see that sticking. I do think that Leicester will probably plummet into the bottom three. I really don't see it with Leicester this year. I kind of started the season thinking that they were probably the safest of the three, like the three promoted with Southampton and Ipswich. But at the moment, even though Ipswich are the ones in the relegation zone compared to Leicester, I do think that Ipswich have a better shot of staying up than Leicester. I just don't see it with Leicester. I really don't. And we'll take a look at their schedule coming up. They've got West Ham, Brighton, Newcastle, Wolves, Liverpool, City, Villa, all before the year's done. Sorry, Villa's their first game after the new year. So, yeah, that's not favorable. Then, like I said, they start off the year against Villa, Palace, Fulham, Tottenham, Everton, coming into the end of that kind of January spell. So once again, a little bit more favorable than Ipswich, but with the way that Leicester's playing, I could honestly see them not getting many points from this. I really couldn't. They're not impressing me at all. They don't look up for it. They don't look hungry enough, and they just look like a team that's whatever happens, happens. Moving into European spots, I mean, not much change from last week. I mean, City totally out the top four. That's the biggest change from this, just on goal difference, of course, but, you got guys like Brentford, Tottenham, Forest all knocking on the door. Villa and Bournemouth kind of really dropping off of their early season form, but even they're still not out of it, all the way down in 13th and 12th respectively. And they're not even fully out of it, just 4 points off that top four, and you could still see them mounting a European charge if fortunes change. Right now, I still think Arsenal and Chelsea will probably finish in that top four. I do think that City turns this around sooner or later. Sooner, I think it means that you could still see a title charge from City. Later, I think you could see a top four charge from City. I think it all depends on when they kind of turn their season around. Brighton, it's nice to see a new team up there. I could definitely see them getting Europe. It just depends on kind of what badge they'll be wearing on their bicep next season, whether it is Champions League, Conference League, or Europa League. We'll have to wait and see, but I could definitely see them getting themselves into the European spots. Chelsea and Arsenal are both identical so far. Same goal difference, same goals scored, same goals against, same amount of points. So, hey, if you're going to mention Arsenal in the title race, you best be mentioning Chelsea in that title race. No, I'm just kidding. Because shout out Enzo Maresca for kind of taking the pressure off his boys, saying they're not in the title race just yet. So, shout out. I kind of like seeing that, take the pressure off of them. And, I still think Chelsea gets into the top 4. I do think Arsenal, I think they definitely will. I think it's just a matter of, moving into the title race now. I think it's a matter of Liverpool kind of dropping some form, because we know that eventually Liverpool will start dropping points. It's just the way of the game, especially coming into these next 2 months of December and January. I think this is really crunch time for all teams, but especially for Liverpool, as 9 points seems like a lot. They're 9 points up on Chelsea and Arsenal. 9 points seems like a ton. It isn't. All it takes is a couple bad results, and that door is left wide open. And we know that. We've seen that multiple times. But yeah, at the moment, it's a one-horse race for the title. At the moment, of course, that can obviously change. But I think it's very interesting to see how this is going to pan out, because, City, who we thought were title contenders, and I still think they are, who we really thought were title contenders, are stuck in 5th. Arsenal are more looking like a top 4 contender than a title contender. And Liverpool are really looking like the only horse in the race at the moment. But like I said, that can all change. Fortunes change, and we'll just have to wait and see. That's the Prem. That's why we love it so much. And I mean, it's going to be a tough 2 months. It will be a tough 2 months. December, January is tough for everyone. Games come thick and fast. I mean, we got midweek games already coming up. It's going to be thick and fast, and it's going to be scary. No, I'm kidding. It won't be scary. It's going to be intense, that's for sure, as it always is this time of year. Tuesdays, Thursdays, Fridays, when it's not Europe, it's going to be Premier League. So, it'll be a lot of fun to try and follow all these games, and we always find the way. So, with this all being said, that kind of brings us to a close of this episode. Another pretty lengthy Premier League one. Once again, kind of, I guess, shows that there was a lot to talk about. So, shout out, I guess. But yeah, no, thank you for listening. If you have, I'll be back, of course, as always, to cover the next set of match days. And from there, we just keep watching football, keep supporting Canadian football, and follow along. The drill, all that fun stuff. All my stuff is kind of linked at the start and end of the episode. So yeah, definitely follow me along, follow this along, and thank you for listening. If you have this far, if this is your first time listening, thank you, and I hope you enjoyed. If this is your 44th time listening, thank you, and I hope you enjoyed as well. So yes, thank you so much, and until next time, cheers, everyone.
And that was your Maple Footy podcast. Thank you so much for listening. Check my socials for any and all future updates at Official Sam Little on Instagram, where I am most active. And until next time, live, laugh, little.